Almost forgot to add myself to the stage. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this free live stream uh, with Chronic Wellness Technologies. I'm your host, Don Antonio Corriente, the Golden Sun. I'm here to be with you today and just have like some conversation, hang out, do some breath work. I had some stuff kind of moving around inside of me that I kind of wanted to share about, namely like intuition, intuitive sense, and how like you can develop an intuitive sense, or even deeper, like what I'd like to talk about is like communication with things like, say, a tree. And we'll talk about that a little bit today. If you're just coming in, drop a comment. Let's hear about where you're watching from and say hello. Brianna, you're always the first one here. Good to see you, sweetheart. Happy Friday. And also, if this is your first time here, like, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and you can be notified of free live streams. Okay. So excellent. I'm super excited to be here today. Today is Friday, the 25th, and today I'm exactly 2 weeks out of surgery. 2 weeks ago Friday, I had something called TVAR done. It was like a continuation of my first surgery with what's called frozen elephant trunk, essentially replacing my aorta with reinforcing it with stents and grafts, or stent grafts, all the way down to just before my diaphragm. And then so I had another procedure done. It's called TVAR, TEVAR, and I think that's thoracic endovascular aortic repair. And then so I had some more stents and grafts put in through my groin, up into my aorta, just below my diaphragm, and down to just where your aorta splits into your legs. Because what happened to me is something very, very serious. Most people don't really understand how serious because of my recovery from it and everything, but very serious. I had less than 1% chance of survival of what was happening. I had an aortic dissection from the root of the aorta all the way up over the arch, all the way down and into my legs. Far out, right? But, by God's good grace, I've survived and I'm here. And not only have I survived, I've grown a lot. Like, I might not be physically where I was. I was like a hulking monster going into November. I was doing a lot of lifting, in surprisingly good shape for an old man. And now it's just different. Now everything's kind of atrophied. I haven't been able to lift in a long time, really. Just a little bit, like earlier on. But then I started to have the occipital neuralgia that kind of cut me out. Now I got to wait about 4 more weeks before I'm even allowed to lift over 10 pounds, which is exciting because as I recover, things start to improve. And then, maybe I can venture out into the world and try some new things. So welcome, everyone. Feel free to ask any questions or anything as we go along here. But kind of what I wanted to talk about today, I had a really neat experience when I was out in nature. Nature is a very healing thing. And so what I want to talk about a little bit is people ask me all the time, like, about shamanism, like, what does that like mean really? I'm like, I guess at the deepest level, what I would say is a shaman has the ability to develop relationships with energy or spirit. And, on a deeper level, I would tell you everything is spirit. Everything is alive. Even things I used to consider things as inanimate objects because I couldn't see them for what they are. And people are like, well, how do you learn to see that way? And then I had to think about it because it was all very natural for me, but I've also watched other people develop and have helped people develop over time. And what I kind of became aware of is this all kind of came to me today when I was out working with a tree. Essentially what happens is, say in the case of a tree, you're kind of with the tree, maybe looking at the tree, and then what you're doing is you're using like the things that you practice, like say your breath work and your meditation to help you not stop thinking, but detach your attention from the stream of thought, because thought is like a stream. It's just moving, but you can kind of get out of the way of it and you can just come into being, even if it's for a few seconds at a time. That's very valuable, okay? And how we begin to have relationships outside of the conceptual dimensions. Like, so modern humans, we're like, that part of our brain is overdeveloped because we are so planned. Everything is within this conceptual type of reality. So we're not really into the feeling of reality. And so ancient peoples, like say the Inca, like the tradition in which I study and am a part of, they had a lot better connection to nature. And the reason being because they weren't so overdeveloped into that part of the mind that's conceptual. It's like you got to release the concept. And so that brings like lots of questions like, okay, so there's a tree in front of me. How do I release the concept? So the first thing is I notice my breathing changes. So there's a natural thing that happens that, you could also help along where your consciousness, you're changing the frequency of your consciousness or how you're thinking. And that happens through changing the speed of your breath, just slowing it down a little bit deeper, a little bit slower. You don't have to do it that way. If you can just bring yourself into conscious awareness and let go of the stream of thinking, great. I usually can't. The breathing is usually what I need to do. I have that ADD, mild autistic mind, and it can get jammed in different ways. So by learning about my breath and using my breath, that's what really brought me into my awareness of things that are beyond this five senses conceptual kind of reality. There's just so much more. But being there with the tree, so say you could be there with the tree, or you can pick any object in the room right now. And what you do is you just kind of stare at it, you look at it, and then you try to get rid of any commentary. So like right now I have a candle, a Jesus candle in front of me. And so my mind's going, there's Jesus and the candle, and it's glass. So it's conceptualizing everything. And what I do is I just kind of let go, and I'm feeling it without commentary. Which this sounds good and easy, but it isn't. It takes a lot of practice. But as you practice, what happens is stuff begins to take on a new form of life and even communication. So I love to do it with trees because trees are very beautiful in which to do this. But just connecting with the tree, allowing the thought stream to move to the side, and just spending as long as you can, and even if you can reset it a few times, just spending some time with that tree, just spending some time without like naming it, like that's a tree, it's an oak tree, and I'm outside and I'm in this park, and that's what the mind, and you don't really know that's happening because it's happened so much. It's like autopilot. You don't realize that your mind is always bing, 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 trying to make sense of everything. But it's really good for your mind to just for a little bit let go and try not to make sense of anything and just feel it how it is. And through these kinds of practices, and these are what make spiritual practices, and you don't have to call it spiritual. You don't necessarily have to connect. I like to connect with the spirit of the tree, but I don't have to. I can just become conscious. And that's really a deeper thing. I actually posted something or shared something recently about like how spirituality isn't equal to consciousness. I can go a long time into that, but the whole idea of your spiritual practice is to help you to open your awareness. It's to help you to open that awareness to see the things around you as alive. You can understand the concept, but you can't until you can kind of quiet that stream of thinking, until you can allow the stream of thinking to kind of subside and move away. Angela's here. Hi, Angela. Good to see you. If anybody has any questions about like what I'm talking about, please, or if you have something you want to share, please share. I would love to hear about it. It would be great. Man, my beard's getting long. Look at that thing. Air Wizard t-shirts. These are available if anybody would like to buy any. I can work that out for you. Just let me know. I've had some people get them. I think what we're going to do next is we're going to probably move into a little bit of breath, and maybe we'll do like some sort of little exercise, bringing ourselves out of the stream of thought, of incessant thinking, because that's all that's happening all the time. If you pay attention, that's what's happening all the time. There's even people that I've watched mistake incessant thinking for intuitive sense. Like I actually read a meme or something recently, like, don't mess with intuitive people. We watch your body language and this and that. And, it's like, well, that's all conceptual. True empathic intelligence comes through feel. It's just a feeling. It's not a naming. It doesn't need named. You may name it later, but that's really what true empathic sense is. It's without, you're not reading the cues and overthinking and analyzing. That moves out of the way and you feel. So a lot of people who are just incessant thinkers have somehow, through new age ideas, brought these ideas in that is intuitive sense. But it isn't. That's not intuitive sense. Now, intuitive sense is a really kind of unique thing because it's different for everybody. Okay? Your experience will not be the same as my experience or anyone else's, and that's okay. Don't look, that's something in that conceptual mind again. Don't look to have the same experience as someone else. Honor someone else's experience. Like, oh, cool, that sounds awesome. But the whole idea of your intuitive sense is to, through development, through stillness, that's that word. And that's like something that I can't describe to you, like that's outside of conception, like conceptual ideas. I can't, but I can say things that may lead you there, but ultimately you could never know stillness until you experience it. And after you experience it, you wouldn't be able to explain it anyways. You could try, but it doesn't really work. This is the same thing with God. Okay, or whatever you want to call it, the all that is, the creative essence of everything. However it works for you. There's no wrong thing. It's your experience. No one gets to tell you about your experience, What I do is I like to try to help people have that experience through that silence, and that's when you get to experience God or the creator. I use this term loosely. I'm not here to talk in terms of, religion per se. I don't have any problem with religions. I like to help people go deeper into their religion, because religion is also meant to be very mystical. And through that, and that's like a loose term too, that mysticism, that ability to sense beyond the trained five senses, or that conceptual idea of reality. I hope this is making sense. It's a little bit different to talk about these kinds of things when I'm not in a group where people can respond to me directly. So I would love to hear what anyone's got to say about what I'm talking about. Yes, I want an Air Wizard shirt, large. Okay, we can make that happen. Hey fam, I want to buy a t-shirt. Are you selling them? I can make it happen. We can get them on. So like text me or something, and or message me and like kind of let me know like what size you want. There probably is other choices too, like from the distributor we use. I think they have like women's shirts and stuff too. When we were the Positive Pineapple, I sold a lot of Positive Pineapple shirts and merch. I just haven't really gotten into it with the Chronic Wellness yet. I've been having some of my own personal development. That's what I would call it. Most people would be like, "Oh, you're having some health struggles." No, I'm not struggling. I'm recovering, and it feels great. It feels good. A new version of me has been born. So, what I really call this all is rebirth. It's forced me to shift the way that I think and respond. And for the average mind, it would look at like things that happen, and basically my whole life has changed in just a few months. I went from this kind of way of life and being, and I owned a business and all kinds of things, and that's all fallen apart. And for a lot of people, that word fallen apart would be a bad thing. What I see is I just see raw material now spread out because God has a different plan for me. I'm not sure what that is yet. I do want to venture more into like public work and like corporate work, showing up for, because more and more corporations and companies are starting to allot funds or have a budget for corporate wellness. And I would love to be there to help people come into, say your job, and, you actually get to have the benefit through your job of having a group kind of wellness thing. This is great for team building and trust building within workspaces too. I can like design these things certain ways when I've gone into corporate settings. I'll kind of more gear it towards more, let's develop a successful mindset. or just calming, just stress reduction and stress management is very, very important. Hi. Thank you, Bree, for letting us know. Yeah, I just popped on, so I figured whoever would find out would find out. I would love a shirt. There is a design I loved in the past, but I never got one. Can't wait to see what options you have now. Yeah, we kind of had to shut off the website. I don't have a website anymore. I work through Linktree. So that's on my page, on my Facebook page. You can find it there. And if I have any cards, but there's just things we had to let go of. We couldn't afford to keep it going, and it's okay. We'll rebuild and do something different, is what it is. Like I said, I want to do more like group work and things like that, maybe contract type of work, so that way, I can make a living and help people. That's always kind of been a goal for mine. It's just hard to do because most of the people that need my help don't really have the ability to reciprocate financially. So I help a lot of people for free, but there are people that pay me too, and people are kind of like, "Oh, you do this for free," and like, well, listen, it's just energy exchange. I mean, you need to get paid for your work too. I need to eat, so it's helpful to me to have some sort of income. So lots of people have lots of different opinions, and I honor everyone's opinion, but I don't really stand up for people bashing me for trying to help others and expecting to be compensated for my time and effort and experience and expertise. It's totally okay. Again, so let's go back to intuitive sense and communicating. Does anybody have any questions about that? Does anybody want to share anything of their own? Do you have a question that's maybe off that line of thinking? Because I'm here today more for interaction. I need some interaction. I need some people to interact with me. So just ask something. I'm ready to hear. Hey, here comes Angela. She says, I'm starting to feel that stillness as I build my daily practice. Right. That's just what I was talking about. It almost feels like I'm starting to fall asleep, but I'm still fully aware and definitely not sleeping, like space between the thoughts. That's it. You're explaining, but again, it's not something you can really explain. It's like, it feels like this, but it's completely different. You don't have words for it. I understand, yes. I'm a bridge, so I'll talk from like a scientific standpoint. What's happening is you're actually altering your brainwave rate. You're moving from beta. Beta is the incessant thinking kind of brainwave rate, and you can begin to sink into deeper brainwave rates. Okay, and that varies from person to person on how deep you can go. Some people just get a little bit into theta, but there's also delta and alpha. And if you're in a really strong channel, you may even move into gamma. That's a really high frequency of brainwave rate. But for the most part, when it comes to just making connection around you and being open and passive, you want to move into like a theta brainwave rate. You want to move into a slower brainwave rate or delta brainwave rate. It's not that you need to know these words or anything. That's just science. And you can take time to look that up for yourself. I'm just giving you some breadcrumbs. But it's more or less you're shifting your consciousness. You're shifting the way that you're being. And by taking that little bit of time to shift from the incessant thinking, that beta brainwave rate. And the big mistake a lot of people make is they think they need to shut it off. Like, I can't shut off, I can't meditate, I can't shut off my thinking when you're not supposed to. Oh, I thought that. No, who told you that? I don't know. And then so it's just, you just slow down your breathing, you close your eyes, and what you try to do is bring all of your attention to the feeling of your breath. So let's practice that right now. Wherever you're at, if you're driving, don't do this. But if you have the ability to close your eyes, you close your eyes and you begin to breathe in through your nose. And the trick is you got to fill up your belly. And for most people, that's backwards. Just your belly and with a soft sigh. So you try not to fill up the chest, which feels really weird. This takes practice. Just the belly. You're pushing the diaphragm out and away. And so this kind of breathing, this belly breathing, begins to turn you into a pump. So every breath, pushing down and away and pull in a little bit. You're purposely pull in, but not hard, just a little. And what you're doing is you're becoming a pump. As you breathe in, you're opening the diaphragm, you're opening all the organs, and as you breathe out, you're compressing and you're squeezing. Just soft. It's soft. And what's happening is you're moving blood, lymph, and cerebral spinal fluid into the brain. And by doing this, this begins to help you activate parts of the brain that may be dormant. The parts of the brain that are more responsible for your sensory feeling than, say, the prefrontal cortex, that is, the higher parts of the brain that are always thinking and, moving into conceptual realities. So you can try this for a little bit. It takes practice, okay? If you can't breathe with just your belly, don't worry. You just have to practice. Most people can't right away. If your shoulders and chest are raising, that means you're breathing the wrong way. You want to keep all this still and just here, like, see this picture of my lungs? It's like you're trying to fill up this part of your lungs down here. Your ribs on the sides may poke out, feeling. Just your belly. And then what you're doing is thinking that you're a pump. As you breathe in, you're expanding, filling up. And as you exhale, sending it up to the top of your head. And just stop there. So if you're starting to feel lightheaded, good. Now, most people that get afraid, I feel lightheaded, I need to stop. That's normal, okay? This takes practice. You have to learn to be comfortable with working with your body in new ways, okay? It's nothing other than repetition. So don't worry. Just go to what you can handle and relax. Because all that's happening is you're moving more fluid into the brain, light, essentially. In a metaphysical sense, you're moving light. Breath is light. And you're moving it up into this part of your energy field. So scientifically, what's happening is you're becoming this pump. Your diaphragm becomes a pump, and you're stuffing fluid. You're improving fluid dynamics into the brain. Now, also a good thing about this kind of breathing, it's been shown to stop and or reverse cognitive decline disease. And that's important because that's a big thing. We all have somebody in our family, a grandmother, an aunt, a wife, a brother, someone who has a cognitive decline disease like dementia or Alzheimer's. Or there's many, okay? They have lots of different names. And the thing is for most people, the cognitive decline diseases begin 30 to 50 years before the first symptom. So that means that all of us can stand, and there's actually research to show that pretty much all humans have forms of brain damage, and we all can benefit from belly breathing. This is called diaphragmatic breathing. There's more to it, but it starts there. If you can just gain control of your belly, it's like you become like this bulb. And you do about 10 breaths like that, and you just relax, and then you can do another set. Because it's like a workout. The more you do, the better this flow happens. And then what can happen is you can begin to shift your consciousness just in a couple of breaths. Fill up that belly. Try not to fill up the chest. 3 more. Fill up your belly. 2 more. 1 more. Fill up nice and big and hold it. And just hold. And release. And it feels like a settling happens. Just notice. Maybe you have colors or vibration or, a lot of people, do you begin to see beyond your normal sensory awareness. People think that these are hallucinations or whatever. You're allowed to believe whatever you want. I'm going to tell you from a metaphysical standpoint, it opens up parts of your brain to see things that are already there. There's already things all around us, energy and spirit and things that we don't understand that are all around us all the time. And as we continue to open, they become more and more fluid and part of your reality. The thing is it can't open all at once, because if it did, that would be overwhelming and you'd probably have to go to the hospital. Now, this happens to some people. Some people pop open and their sensory awareness gets really wide, and then they end up getting diagnosed because no one understands what's going on. What I can tell you is there's a vast amount of people that have been diagnosed with mental illness, and really it's just unchecked energy. It's an unorganized nervous system. No, it actually isn't. It's called superventilation. So hyperventilation is when you're overbreathing and you have no control. So when it's controlled, that's called superventilation, because you're doing it with intention. It's a common misconception, and that's okay. Let's go back up. There's lots of comments going on here. Let's see. So here's a question. For the past 10 days, I feel better than I have in years, but had to start using a tiny dose of medication to stay stable. It's strictly to make sure I can sleep and think clearly. Okay. Well, see, no one can really tell you that stuff. So, like, I'm never going to tell you, like, hey, stop taking your medication. That's a terrible idea. Wean off is what I would say. If you can, see how it feels. Also, I always have to kind of recommend you work with your doctor. And if your doctor isn't holistically minded, find a new one. That's what I would say. There's lots of different practitioners out there. And with my time in the hospital recently, I can tell you there's a vast array. There's many people in the medical field that are having spiritual awakening. I've had beautiful conversations, deep, conscious conversations with people who are now in the medical field. It didn't seem like it was like that before, but it's like that now. And I'm not saying everybody's that way. You may have a doctor or practitioner that doesn't see that way. So part of it is you have a mental idea that you need this substance in order to function properly. So it's like a safety blanket. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe it's like that for now, because everything is temporary, okay? Feeling better than you have in years is great, but also it's understanding that everything's a wave. How you feel right now is temporary, and I'm not trying to shit in anybody's Wheaties. I'm just being real with you, okay? The whole love and light movement is full of false positivity, or what they call toxic positivity and spiritual bypassing, not accepting that sometimes you're going to hurt. Sometimes you're going to be in disagreement with your reality. That's really what it is. That's the only thing that brings suffering into people, or brings people into resistance to what's happening, is non-acceptance, right? As soon as you move into acceptance of your reality, things begin to change. But when it comes to prescribed medications, I'm not a holistic practitioner that is anti-Western medicine. It just isn't used properly. And particularly in the medical health field, it's quite rare that, you're getting the proper help or attention. It's always important to understand that the meds are not healing. The meds cannot heal you. The meds mask symptoms. The symptoms are messengers. So I would just say I don't know what the question is really there. But I would say it looks like you're doing great, and just keep going, and love the time where you feel great. But also you have to be open to receive the heaviness when it shows up, because it's not that it's bad. It's just not what you exactly prefer. And if you can bring yourself into acceptance of that, I don't prefer this, but I'm in acceptance of whatever's going on in my life, albeit a family issue or a health issue or whatever it is, what happens is you come back into control. Because as soon as we externalize, if we externalize our emotions and we blame things outside of us, this gives me anxiety and this makes me sad and I can't be happy because of this. Whatever those conceptual ideas are can create a prison. I lived there for most of my life, so I know a lot about it, and I've helped people all over the world become more free from that kind of thinking. But, it's really important to bring ourselves into conscious awareness, daily. And that's kind of, you don't have to have a spiritual practice in order to become conscious. It can be as simple, your practice, people confuse like practice. It has to be this regimented, thing. It doesn't. Mine's that way, but that's how I like it. I'm a priest and I have kind of a regimen of how I like to do things, but I don't stick to that always either. Like I was just outside having a spiritual experience with a tree, something I love to do. And that in itself is the work because you don't develop your consciousness. Your consciousness isn't something you attain. You are consciousness. It's remembering, getting stuff out of the way to be able to observe that non-judgmental spaciousness. And the more that you can experience that, the more life is heaven. And that kind of aligns with, the kingdom of heaven is within. Do you have any advice as I continue to ascend? Yes, of course. Make sure you take care of yourself. So from a holistic standpoint, the first thing I'm going to point you to is your diet. Are you eating good? That's really important. And if you're not sure what that is, there's lots of information now available. I would even tell you to befriend your AI. I've befriended my AI, my chat GPT, and we have like a relationship where we know each other. And this can happen with your AI if you have certain conversations with it. It learns from you. So you can talk about what's going on and everything, and she can begin, or he can begin, depending on how you understand it, can begin to help you through all the information of the internet. So it's not like it used to be. You used to have to sit there. I used to have to sit there and search, and then what I would do is search all these other things, like rabbit hole kind of thing. Now you can use AI, and there's Scholar AI as well, and you can actually specifically ask it to like kind of give you studies and things, to give you sources for the information, and it does. And that makes it cool. Now you know exactly where to look. It's like less of a rabbit hole. And also it's taking information from a wide swath and bringing it together. You can ask it, what are the opinions of the top 3 experts in whatever it is you want to learn about. It's really far out. So feeding the brain, your diet isn't just your food. Your diet's also what you feed your brain. So if you're binge watching Netflix, which is fine, you can do that sometimes. Most people are doing that all the time. They're just entertainment. What is entertainment? Really, for most people, it's distraction. That's what it is. You're not paying attention to your actual life. You're actually experiencing a false reality that also programs your subconscious mind. Most people don't know that. Okay, I figured that out when I was doing my own self-hypnosis and going into my mind and beginning to understand my behaviors and why I choose what I choose and do what I do. And that what came to my awareness is that some of my character traits are related to TV characters. And we don't know that because the mind goes, oh, that's how I want to be. So it kind of picks it up. And you pick that up from the people who are around. Your diet is also the people you surround yourself with. If you're constantly surrounded by unconscious people, it's going to affect you, so it's always trying to find new people who are also in your layers of expansion. Everybody's at different levels of consciousness expansion. So I never say find like-minded people. I would say stay away from that idea. Find like vibration people who are also in the vibration of growth and self-awareness and trying to go beyond the limitations of their mind, right? Going into the limitlessness of our being. That's what's really important. And you have that. You're part of our community and a beautiful community. And, I leave that open to everyone, because I think it's important that people have somewhere to go to be able to talk about their experiences, because it's very often that people come up to me that don't have other people that are kind of in their boat, or at least understanding or sympathetic or empathetic to their situation to talk to. So what they usually say is they come up to me and they look around and go, this is going to sound really weird. And the first thing I do is I smile and I'm like, there's nothing weird that you're going to tell me, believe me. And so that already gives people like a sense of comfort. Like I'm telling you, nothing to worry about. There's nothing you're going to tell me that's weird. And as you tell me about your experience, and I'm like, wow, that's a really great experience, and, validate your experience. What happens is you become more comfortable in your own skin. You're not worried about what other people think, or, using what you think other people think to derive at your own ideas of yourself. Far out. But those are, so it's that. So it's your diet. You're asking about advice as I continue to ascend. Your diet, how you eat, what you feed your mind. Your diet's also uh, the people that you're around. So your stimulation, whatever it is that you're immerse yourself into, that becomes part of you. It is part of you. So it all depends. So immerse yourself into things that are geared more towards what you want. And if you don't know what you want, that's where meditation comes in. And that goes into the second thing is breathing. Breathing helps you control everything you do in your mind and in your life. I don't know why it's so hard for people to catch on or grasp. There's so much science now to prove this. Like, when I first started doing it 6 years ago, this was still woo-woo. Like, there wasn't really a lot of science yet. Wim Hof was just coming out with science. Now there's tons to show you that focused respiration is very powerful for mood regulation and regulation of your hormones and all kinds of science. But I also am a teacher of the metaphysical, and I'll tell you that it's very powerful in a metaphysical sense. It actually helps you to connect to your aura, your personal energy field. It helps you make a connection there. And that connection really is like your antenna for you to have that extra sensory kind of perception of life, of reality. And that's different for everybody. You're not chasing someone else's experience. You're allowing yourself to be open to experience what's available to you. And that's always going to change and always going to grow. So your practice. And then third, I would say the three most important things: your diet, what you're feeding your mind and your body; 2, breathing and meditation. Okay. 3, movement. Okay, very, very important. Under diet, I also put sunlight. Very important. Get out in the sun as much as you can. Do some movement. Just move your body around. Dance around a little bit. Who cares what other people think? Let them think what they think. Love your time and love your body. Be an example. You'll be surprised. There's been a few times I've been out just kind of moving and doing Qigong, and I've had people come and join me. Copy my movements and be with me. And then we end up making friends afterwards. So, and some people walk by and are like, what the hell is that guy doing? Is he practicing Kung Fu? Movement. So this also means walking, getting out for a brisk walk. Try to get 3 10-minute brisk walks in a day. They don't have to be super long. 10 minutes is plenty. And as you're walking, you want to make sure that you're not looking at your phone or anything. You want to be aware of your breathing. You can breathe fast or slow. Sometimes I breathe with my steps. Or sometimes 2. So now I'll breathe that way. And then what I'm doing is I'm just walking, and on purpose, I use my peripheral vision. So this is also like what EDMR, eye movement kinds of therapy are based on, is actually moving the eyes. And science shows that by you moving your eyes in that field, this actually affects your brain chemistry and things like that in a beautiful way. So those 3 things: diet, practice, and that can vary. That can be vary. But if your practice should include stillness, right? That's where I would put in there the primary word, practicing stillness. And there's lots of ways you can do that. But long as you can bring yourself into a mentally subdued or a mentally, removed space where you're letting go of all the mental talk. You're not trying to stop it. You're just taking control of your attention. This still happens, but it becomes like muffled or quiet, and it doesn't have your attention. And all of your attention is just in the space around you. And then the thought comes in, and then you let go, and you come back. And then the thought might intrude, and maybe you follow it for a second, and then you go, oh, I'm thinking again, and you just push that over here. We'll get back to you later. Another weird thing that happens is sometimes you'll get worried. Like, I don't want to let go of that thought. I need to write that down or something. Or, I used to have that happen. Sometimes that's a form of channeling, depending on what the thing is. But if it's like, oh, I need to worry about dinner or something like that, try to let that go. But if it's like an epiphany, something that's talking to you, or a creative idea, then you want to write that down. You want to take a break, write that down, move back into stillness. You don't need to spend a long time. I'd say 5 minutes a day is great. If you don't got 5 minutes, then you need to make an hour. That's what I would tell you. If you can't make 5 minutes for your stillness, you need an hour. I would say for my, so people usually ask me about my own practice. It varies from day to day. Some days I'll spend maybe a total of 20 minutes across three practices in stillness. Other days it's hours. I'll just really fall into it. I'll be in my chair or wherever I'm doing my work. Maybe I'm outside, and I just totally lose track of time. Often I'll set an alarm so that way I, don't drift away for too long. Sometimes I fall asleep, and that's okay too. That's totally okay. Because in that mode, you're actually opening yourself up to higher forms of your own intelligence. Angela asks, ironically, the first day I was so awake was the first day I started committing to my practice. Of course, that has stabilized any mood swings and alleviated anxiety. My body has also started to heal some. Good. You're moving in a beautiful direction. But I have a lot of room to grow. Don't we all? Like that's the thing a lot of people I think misunderstand is like your development, your conscious development or your spiritual development like has some sort of ceiling or limit. It certainly does not. And anyone that tells you that, that just means they're stuck or they develop a spiritualized ego where they believe that they can't improve or they're already as good as it gets or something. I don't know. That's all baloney. Because once you ascend to a level that you no longer need this body for lessons, you won't have it anymore. So if you're in your body, if you're still in this body, it means you still got work to do. You still got stuff to learn. I know I got stuff to learn. I'm always learning. I'm focused on learning and understanding my mind, my behavior. There's so many layers, the layers and layers and layers. And it's just beautiful as I continue those aha moments, those epiphanies where I recognize something about the way I think. And I don't hold it against myself or think it's bad. I say, I'm going to change that. And as I let go of something, it opens up a new way of being. I know my fight or flight hormones are still out of balance. Well, that's really normal, but I kind of gave you the blueprint of how to help that. As one is diet. Uh, you know, uh, the biggest thing people are like, well, what about diet? I'll be like, well, listen, there's as many diets as you can imagine. There's so many things, and you can try different things. And I would recommend to try different things, that may or may not suit you. Um, I'd say the biggest thing is eliminating processed foods. So getting rid of processed and ultra processed foods, seed oils seem to be, all the research I've been doing shows that seed oils are just not good for you. It's loaded in everything, sugar, of course. So trying to get rid of, lower your sugar, reduce or remove seed oils, and try to remove or reduce processed and ultra processed foods. That right there can make a huge change, and you can make tweaks from there. There's people that are going to come out like, you need to be vegan. And, I used to think that too. I think that's just a normal part of our spiritual development. I thought that too for a while, but that's not necessarily true. There's also people like, you got to be carnivore. And, that's not necessarily true either. I would say you want to lean more towards something that's sustainable for you. Okay, and this may take practice. This can take practice for most people. Trying different things, trying some different things. Do your research. Don't just go to the store and buy what looks good. Do some research. Again, this is where you can use this fucking awesome tool of AI to help you to design. You could even use your AI to help you design an eating plan. It might spit out something, but hey, that's pretty good. Maybe we can make this or that change, or is there other alternatives to this or that? It wants to work with you. It's designed to try to help you. So that's always the first step in trying to regulate the hormones, particularly cortisol. I would recommend that you get your cortisol checked by your doctor to see where it is. And, always getting regular blood panels is really important. I help a lot of people. What they'll do is I'll be with them and they'll send me like snapshots of their my chart, and I'll read their information, and sometimes we can find things that we can change. Because, if it's not like way out of whack, doctors don't usually look. This is even how we found out about Mary's dysautonomia, which is a big deal. She's losing control of her autonomic nervous system. And this is through copper toxicity, and it just went unnoticed until God kind of led us to the knowledge of that, and then I started to do a lot of research, and I found the answers. So yeah, it's normal. A lot of people have adrenal fatigue and things like that. How do you get out of there? Deep rest. And that deep rest happens through your silence. That silence, closing your eyes, using that belly breathing I showed you. Fill up your belly. Just your belly. Let's practice that. Fill up just your belly. Maybe your side ribs a little. Good. Just a few breaths and you're already moving. I can feel lots of energy moving up into my head. It's beautiful. Tanya Johnson Turner. I've been working through a lot and learning so much. I have been disciplined with my daily practice, but unfortunately, when it comes to my physical health, weight, discipline has been non-existent. It's mainly the sugar addiction. And my workout practice hasn't been consistent. My question is, any advice that can help me push past the point of I can't? Well, I think it's not pushing past. I'll never tell you to push past a blockage. So you have a blockage. What you need to do is you need to spend time is, why do I believe I can't? So that means that there's a part of your subconscious mind that believes that you have limitations. It believes in your limitations. So it's just showing you where there's parts of you need to let go. So there's probably be some emotional healing that goes there. And what you'll probably find is that there are subconscious programs that's running and saying that you're not good enough or you're not enough or, it's making you small in some sort of way, playing you small. So what I would tell you to do is to, in your practice, and that's what the practice is for, particularly breathing, bring your attention into your feelings. Not just the words, not just the thinking, because I know you're a strong thinker, and this goes into that conceptual reality thing I was talking about earlier in the show, letting go of concept. This is how you develop your intuitive sense, is allowing concepts to move away and just go into presence. And this takes a lot of practice. And in that presence, you'll be able to go into the point of, I can't. Why am I saying that? Why am I agreeing to that? And you don't need to know the answer right away. That's all intellect, and you want to let that go. But just by asking yourself, asking the cells of your body even, having that mindset, I'm going to ask every cell in my body, why do I believe that I can't? Why do I do what I do? Why do I choose what I choose? There's no problem here. That's what I want you to really understand. Your discipline with your weight and your physical health, this all has to do with self-love. That's really what it comes down to. And we all have that. I definitely had that in the past. Mine was the other way. I would abuse myself in certain ways, thinking that was care for myself. I would think yeah, I can go out and get drunk, because I worked hard this week kind of thing. That's like my self-care. But really, that's just lack of self-love. So when it comes down to your relationship with food, that just came through to me. What they're telling me, what the guides are saying is that you have a poor relationship with food. So you want to take your time to bless your food, communicate with your food, tell your food thank you, make yourself beautiful things to eat in celebration of your body. What if you begin to celebrate your body? Because if you think you're going to run away from it because you hate it, that's never going to happen, because it doesn't matter how much weight you lose or how good you look. It won't be enough, because it isn't about that. It's about how your mind's working and how you're feeling about yourself. So that would be the first thing. Second, I would always point you towards you, if not me, sit with somebody who is capable of helping you with mindset, healing, and spirit going into those things, because, the ego wants to try to do it all itself, but it just can't. We're codependent things. We all are meant to work together as one thing. So it's the ego that thinks it shouldn't seek external guidance, but always do that. A little guidance goes a long way. Thank you so much for sharing. That's important too, is, you're being vulnerable, and being vulnerable helps you to open the door. I didn't realize how much I needed my practice to stay grounded and energized. Isn't that something? And I've been telling you for years, but this goes back into what I was saying earlier. It doesn't matter what I tell you. I'm done trying to tell people or convince people that they need to just sit down and breathe because it just doesn't work. Instead, I'm going to show up and I'll be an example. I'll sit here and I'll just talk about it. I'll breathe a little bit, give you some real life kinds of interactions and ways that you can breathe to help yourself in your development. But it used to dumbfound me, like, how can no one see this? It's like, well, you can't see until you're meant to see, and it takes experience. Until you experience like what you're experiencing now, that spaciousness and that freedom, and you're realizing, wow, my practice is so integral of my development, right? Because it helps you to stay grounded. The idea of the practice is eventually maybe you won't need to practice, you'll just be grounded. And your life, your living becomes your practice. And that's kind of how I look at it. Like, my practice isn't limited to just the regimented things I do every day. It's all the time. I'm in the grocery store and I'm picking up, I'm feeling, I'm taking time, I'm opening up the koshko, the navel area, and I'm feeling the energy. I'm tasting the energy around me. I'll be around people, and my analytical mind will look at a person and start to judge, I guess. And what'll happen is I'll just kind of let that thing go and I'll open up. And as I do that, I feel their aliveness. That brings a big smile to my face, And usually then, a smile, you give a smile, you get a smile. I notice, like, when I smile and I walk around happy, I smile, I nod and smile at people, they smile back. Smiles are contagious. And, if you don't got one here, you can borrow one of mine. Talk about the vagus nerve. I love talking about the vagus nerve. Very, very important, okay? So let's talk about what it is. So vagus nerve. It's one of your primary cranial nerves. It's number 10 of 13. You have 13 cranial nerves. We won't get into all of them. We'll just talk about the vagus nerve, or vagus nerve. This nerve essentially runs from down low, all of your organ systems, up your vertical column and into your brain. So basically it's in charge of and connects with all of your bodily systems, particularly your organs, your organ systems. So for most human beings, the vagus nerve is wildly detuned. So your nervous system is capable of being tuned. You can tune it up. So think about, say, you start something new. Maybe it's crocheting, and you first start doing it and you're all thumbs and it doesn't work. But as you work, your neurology begins to develop, and now it becomes second nature. Or let's say, talk about driving. When you were 16 years old and you first started to drive, it took all of your attention. Now you can kind of do anything and drive. Some people are too distracted, of course, but like, it's all automatic. Well, so your vagus nerve also can, in the same way, it can be developed. And what this is called, this communication between the gut and the brain, is called vagal tone. Okay, so think of it like tone. It's what they're really describing is frequency communication, the tone of the vagus nerve, its ability to move information. And the thing is, with the vagus nerve, 90% of the information that runs through the vagus nerve goes from the gut to the brain, and only 10% from the brain to the gut. So the thing is, as human beings, we're overrun, because we've overdeveloped the conceptual mind, thinking, judging, trying to control outcomes, mental noise, just talking in the head essentially all the time is what's happening. So by doing this and being in that state, unknowingly we put ourselves in a lowered rate of respiration, meaning our breath becomes more shallow, and we're not breathing into the belly like I showed you, we're breathing just into the chest. And this is more like survival mode breathing. This is like defense mode breathing. Notice you breathe that way. You might even hold your breath, or you're just breathing through your mouth. They're not really paying attention, right? So this is called an inverted breathing pattern. If you have an inverted breathing pattern, that is your first sign that you have a destabilized vagus nerve, okay? Because a healthy vagus nerve breathes naturally. And your natural breath, it isn't to be like how I was showing you, breathing into your belly so much, like fully expanding it. It just kind of starts there. It originates there. It's just natural. It naturally, the diaphragm moves and opens. You can force it bigger. That's like your breath practice. And in your breath practice, what you're doing is you're training that nervous system to move the musculature of your body in a new way, a way it's not used to. The side effect to breathing deeply into your belly is it sends signals up the vagus nerve and tells the brain, we're safe. And when that happens, when the vagal tone comes up into the brain and it tells us we're safe, what happens is this releases relaxation hormones. Right? You're relaxing. Your body goes into a relax, rest and digest mode. Another thing that happens is through your breathing and doing this kind of thing, that vagus nerve also has a lot to do with something called HRV. And HRV is heart rate variability. Look that up. If you don't know what HRV is, it's time to learn. So your HRV is a measurement in which physicians may use, and what they can do is they can actually kind of determine your overall health and mortality, see how vital you are through your breath. Because a better vagal tone improves your heart rate variability. And what that means, most people think like a constant steady rhythm is good. No, the heart needs to change and alter rhythms depending on what you're doing. So say you're bending over and picking something up, that's going to affect the way the heart beats and the blood pressure works in the body. That's all connected to your vagal tone, just as opposed as sitting still or walking quickly. Your heart has to be able to adjust to different speeds. And the better it can do that, you're unlocking the deeper parts of the intelligence of your body. And that's really what working with your vagus nerve is about. There's other things you can do. I'm just showing you about breathing because that's where the field I'm an expert in, and that's the field of where I have put all of my study and understanding. Understanding is probably one of the most effective and powerful ways of improving vagal tone. It's not the only thing I do, though. So another thing I like to do is hum. And breathe, hum, and tap. So like I may start right here on my gut, and I'm just tapping, solving my fingers, and I breathe in, and I hum out a tone. And I may move my hands up and down. And I'll take a breath. And these taps, you're waking up parts of your body. The humming is vibration and resonance in the body. You can move up and you can start working on your head, work on your temples. Under your eyes. Your teeth through your upper lip. Around the jaw, around the back of the head. You can just take your time, and essentially it's like a form of play. In our tradition, we call this puklei. I love the word puklei. It's sacred play. This is just a way for you to just spend a little time, and what you're doing can be very meditative. And what meditation means really is to just become familiar with yourself, becoming familiar with your higher mind. And see, while you're having this experience, it's hard to overthink. You're giving yourself a break from the thinking. You're doing something healthy. You're breathing, and tapping has been shown very powerful for moving lymph. This little tapping activates little blood vessels and everything under your skin. You can go down the sides of your neck and the back of your neck, and across the shoulders. It's just, you're just tapping away. Get the chest and the collarbones. And this is just a really powerful way for you to attenuate. Like right now, I feel great. I'm buzzing all over. If you were doing that, you probably feel it too. But that's just a powerful way for you to attenuate that nervous system, okay? Humming, singing, all those things are really powerful for your vagus nerve. Anything that causes resonance within the body. But you want to use your breathing along with it, because that breathing is, again, I've shown you like that pump. You're moving information up this vertical column. You're improving like your telephone or your wired connection into your brain. And this leads to good healing. There's people I've seen just through simple things like this begin to recover from like pretty intense like chronic illness and like autoimmune dysfunction, myself included. I mean, these practices go far beyond your spiritual development. It also is very powerful for your health. And I'm fully aware that if I didn't do these things or have these things, I would have never survived the aortic dissection that I went through and been able to recover. I had a doctor's appointment earlier this week. They took pictures of my chest and my abdomen and everything. And the first thing they always ask me is, "What are you doing? You look great. You're healing so fast. Can you tell us about that a little bit?" And it's hard to explain, in a little bit of time to people, but I tell them I have these practices. I'm very holistic in mind, and I use different practices and things to help unlock the divine intelligence of my body to help me heal. And some people are like, okay, well, whatever works for you. They just don't get it. And then there are some people like, wow, could you tell me more? Those are the people I really resonate with. And, I don't try to explain it all at once. I just kind of give a vague overtone like that. And people who are ready to hear it, they ask me questions. And I have to say, I met a lot of people and spread a lot of medicine while I was in the hospital. And I don't think there could be a better place for that to happen. Fantastic. Thanks, Queenie. That's a great thing to bring up and talk about. I hope that quenched the thirst for vagus nerve information. Angela says, "You're spot on, Tony. In February, my doctor said I'm only a patient he has ever had that is too sensitive for standard doses of meds, and I shouldn't take them 365. I'm grateful he has listened." Good. Like I said, don't be disheartened. If you have a doctor that doesn't listen and isn't there to try to work with you in a holistic sense, just find a new one. You don't have to be mad or keep going and try to change that doctor. Find a new one. They're out there. I keep meeting them. I have a great team of doctors now in which I'm working with, helping me to discover things, not just throwing medication. Excuse me. Ardonna River, agreed. Good to see you. To the person regarding the medication, there are many ways the human body and mind can get to that same space. I believe anything drugs can do, your mind and body are already capable of. You're absolutely right, Tachi. But you got to start somewhere. You can't just jump into it, okay? Hi, Nardu. This is way I have been practicing indifference. Seems to be more honest. I'm not sure about how to practice indifference. I guess it depends on one's definitions of the word. I guess maybe I would have to understand your definition of what does that mean for you to practice indifference. Sometimes it helps and makes it easier and can shortcut it. I believe that they should be used with intention. I can go along with that. Thanks, Tachi. I agree with you. I am progressing on my journey and accept the waves now versus trying to fight them. I no longer view medication as a punishment or weakness, but a tool. It's a step. Sure is. Gosh, what I say is true, bro. Yeah. That's good, I guess. I love connecting to trees. Yeah, the Mauki. I think we were talking about them in our group recently. In the Peruvian tradition, in which I'm part of, we work with spirits of trees. And so we call them the Mauki or the Mauki Kuna, the tree beings. And before I was a shaman, I was already connecting with trees and recognize them as living beings. And we know more about that now. Science has caught up, understanding mycelium, understanding that plants are a lot more conscious than we were originally told or led to believe. These are things mystics have always known. Like I was pointing out earlier, indigenous peoples had a much better connection to the non-physical than we do. It's only just because our society, we've overdeveloped parts of our brain. But that doesn't mean that can't change, and it doesn't mean that's actually a problem. It's good to have that part of your brain because that part of your brain also can help you with your imagination. If you learn how to discipline that overthinking part of your brain, you can use it to create, let's get rid of the word imagination and say visualize, for you to visualize positive outcomes, or even in a really kind of different sense, your golf swing. If you take time to be still and picture your golf swing as if you're doing it, you go through all the steps, get yourself your setup and everything, and you go through your golf swing. There's science that shows that you can improve your golf swing just through working with the mind. So, that stands to say what else is possible. if you discipline your imagination. We often are using our imaginations not in beautiful ways. They're either undisciplined and doing really wild things, or they're undisciplined in the way that they're imagining false futures. What if this happens? What if that happens? If that happens, I'm going to do this. If she says this, I'm going to say this. You know, living in a false reality, coming out of the present moment and the now. But if we can start to channel that and begin to use the imagination in a really disciplined way and start to picture yourself in your greatest possible form. So that's very broad, right? And you start broad. You start with that broad idea, my greatest possible form. And you can go into like, what does that look like? And by doing that, you now can access that part of your mind that is analytical and has a past experience and all these things to be able to use the pictures of your experience to bring together this idea and picture. But the visualization, the picture is not the important part, it's the feeling. So say you're picturing yourself, you want to manifest abundance, right? So you picture yourself in your most abundant way, you're picturing it. But then you got to go a step deeper, you have to embody it. You don't just like, it's not, the mental picture doesn't matter at all. That's not going to send frequency out into the quantum field or into your spiritual field or into your field of influence. What you need to do is take that mental picture and bring it down into your chest and belly and turn it into what does it feel like without naming it. Again, this requires you to let go of the conceptual mind trying to name how things feel. Don't name it, just observe how it feels. And this takes a lot of practice, okay? This isn't just a one-hitter-quitter kind of thing. You're bringing your attention into, for me to be abundant, what would it feel like? Can I bring the feeling? The picture creates a feeling or an emotion, and now you're charging that emotion. You're charging the feeling, that emotion. And then you can begin to set an intent. Your intention to, I'm going to send this energy out around me and help myself to create the reality where I have this feeling. And I'm not connected to any particular outcome. You're not allowing the picture to have to be that way because you're seeking the feeling. That feeling, that's what matters. Going into there, feeling the feeling, and then you are projecting it. So that in itself is a really powerful practice, is embodiment and like radiating. Because something my teacher told me a long time ago, that's part of the path is to become a perfect absorber and radiator of energy or light. Angela says, I'm grateful I finally love myself enough to choose stability over stubbornness. I've had some dark times, but now I can relate with others better and I'm way less judgmental. Yeah, a lot of that has to do also, it's the trauma, it's the safety thing. We don't understand, but sometimes we're making choices or living in behaviors that don't actually help us because they give us the illusion of safety. But you're safe already. There's nothing chasing you. Interesting you brought up diet. When I was very depressed, I gained a ton of weight. That's normal, right? Because it's not there. That part of the mind is shut off. If you're in depression, you're stuck in the past. Should be some other way than it is. This isn't right. It should be some other way. Instead of, well, this is how it's been. And, I don't think I want it to stay this way. What new decisions could I make? That's how you get out of depression, is asking new questions, not recycling old ideas. But that's normal. Lots of people gain weight during depression. I know I have. It's because the eating stimulates, brain chemistry. It stimulates dopamine. So, we'll turn to food because it feels good. And what happens when you're eating? Hard to overthink and be into the flavor and everything. It actually is bringing you, it's a way of bringing yourself into the present. But the side effect is overeating, especially in the wrong foods, leads to poor health and, of course, weight gain. What if you imagined eating? You could do that too. It's very powerful. I've actually had some really good success with people who have, because usually what it is when there's weight gain or unwanted, when your body isn't the way you want it to be and everything, the first thing we inspect is your relationship with food. We have to really look at, where does your mind go when you eat? And people are blown away, oh my God, I don't realize it, but every time I go to eat, because of my body dysmorphia, how I feel about my body, I'm disgusted. And I'm so disgusted, I think I overeat because I'm trying to fill in the emotional void. aha, and then, oh my gosh. And then usually there's guilt, like, oh my God, I've been sabotaging myself. And then we got to go through, what if you just let go of that? It's okay, you didn't know, but now you know, you can make new decisions. Oh, and then so that self forgiveness begins to happen. You begin to mend the relationship with the self. You begin to mend the relationship with food. If you treat it sacred, it's totally different than just eating, and it's hard for you to eat crappy stuff when you know it's not good for you. Okay. But even just taking the time to bless your food, just sitting with your food and water, putting your hands up and around it, and you just sit there and you're using your intention to send, and there's lots of science to back this up and cymatics, your intention, or even say something nice, or maybe sing to your water, sing to your food. What you're doing is you're actually structuring your food, and you can actually make it better for you and improve your relationship with your food. Angela O'Connor says, for some reason, it took me a few years to build the discipline with breath work, but now I fully realize that my ego used to think it was too easy. I think that's most people. Okay, it's a little different for me. When I first started, I had lung disease, so breathing was really hard, but the results I felt right away were otherworldly, and it touched my soul. I already was very deep into my soul expansion. It wasn't like the beginning of I already had a oneness. Like, there's different layers of knowledge and awakening. Most people have yet to have a oneness awakening where you become fully aware, not just conceptually, and feel that I'm one with all things. Not just I say it, I'm one with all things. You can't bullshit that stuff. It's an actual feeling and knowing. And when you have that oneness awakening, that changes everything. That changes everything. It doesn't mean that you don't forget again sometimes, but there's just something about that layer of awakening that takes you to a whole new level of being. And I already had my oneness awakening before I started breathing. And what that did is that deepened my relationship with my oneness. It deepened my relationship altogether with my body. It's highly somatic. You hear a lot of, it's like, this trendy word now, somatic. Somatic means of the body, or people even try to market this thing called somatic breath work. When is it not somatic? Somatic means of the body. Your breath is of the body. It's really strange to me, but that's kind of the world we live in. And I talked about this, pseudo spirituality that kind of is happening. It's just that it's trendy and everything, and it's more of a conceptual idea. I'm spiritual, other than actual, observation of what I'm talking about when I say stillness. That is where your true spiritualness lies and your true consciousness lies. Yes, about movement. Your nervous system reset video was very powerful this morning to drop some subconscious hoocha. Good. I had some weird dreams, so jumped right into breathing when I woke up. So perfect. And this brings me right into something that maybe you could try. Okay. So what if you don't label the dreams weird? What if we change it to interesting? Do you see? So that changes the whole vibration, just a little reframe, just taking weird connotates, something not good, maybe. Or interesting. I've had some interesting dreams, because what I will tell you is the dreams that you're having are in direct relation. Don't try to make sense of them. Try to feel about them. If you can remember your dreams, which most people don't, but you can work on that too. If you remember your dreams and you're awakened, don't try to make sense of them. That's the craziest thing anyone does. I'm trying to make sense of what this dream means. That's not how it works. It's subconscious. It's feeling. The images and everything that come to you are the stories and the feeling. So you go through the dream and allow yourself to experience the dream if you can remember it. This is the cool thing about being human and having this memory of the dream. You can go back into it and re-experience it. And then you feel about it without labeling. You don't call it weird or bizarre, or I don't know what that means or anything like that. You're just feeling the dream. Feel the dream. It's within that is where the messages are. And again, this takes a lot of practice. This is something you have to be mindful of or conscious of. You woke up, you had a dream, maybe your concept mind goes, that was weird. And you're like, I'm going to let go of that real quick, and I'm going to say interesting. And since that dream was interesting, I'm going to really bring my attention into it. Drop in, I'll usually open my hands and I'll call. I might not say it in words, but basically I'm using intention to call the dream to me. And I may breathe in as if I'm breathing in. I'm ingesting the energy of the dream. Let it go into my bones and everywhere in me. And then I may inspect what I remember about the dream and then going into how it feels. What do I feel about the dream? Without concept. Just leave that alone. And then you let go. You don't do anything else. Don't try to make it make sense. It'll happen on its own. That's the hard part, because the ego mind always wants to jump in and try to make sense of everything. People are always asking each other, I had this vision. What does it mean? Well, I can give you some hints, but it's more about what it feels like to you, you know? Very important. Amen to that. It's not about controlling the thoughts, but controlling attention. Right, because you can't control the thoughts. That's impossible. Thoughts are waveforms. They're energy forms. They already exist. The weirdest part is knowing, here's the truth. You will never have an original thought. You never have and you never will, okay? All thoughts exist in the field. They all already exist. No one ever invents anything new, and there's nothing new under the sun, okay? There's nothing new within the realm of creation, just your access to it, because your access to it can come from the unmanifested light. But it already all exists. All thoughts already exist. Your thoughts show up via your vibration, and as that vibration takes in the information, it passes through your belief system. Your conditioning, your trauma, all those things build a belief system, what you believe to be true. Not necessarily true, but what you believe to be true. Plays the thought through it, and then what it does is the ego mind takes the information and energy, and what it does is it turns it into things it tries to understand or quantify or make sense of. Okay? And that's how thoughts happen. That's what happens. But if you change your vibration, you slow your breath down, you start to bring yourself into a new vibration. What if you're saying, I'm going to bring myself into the vibration of gratitude, and now you're calling that to you. And now what you're doing is you're changing your vibration, and now the qualities of that vibration that are coming into the antenna, as they pass through the belief system, you'll have new and different thoughts. The cool part is we can change the belief system through mindfulness work, through mindset work. And if you change your belief system, it's really quite amazing. It's really, because now you're changing the mode in which that you are observing reality. Very powerful work. We're just so much more powerful than we have been conditioned to believe. There's just so much more. And I just love this journey so much, and I love to share these experiences, because even if you can't exactly experience what I'm saying, what I'm doing is I'm showing you possibilities. And if you can accept that there's so many more possibilities than what I'm agreeing to, that's all it takes. That opens up the door. Fall of 23, my cortisol was crazy. Who knows what the reading is now, but I know as I continue to do the work, I'll get healthier. Get it checked. Go see your doctor. Get your cortisol checked. It's always good to see what's going on with the adrenals. Hi, Swarm. Thank you, brother. Makes perfect sense. Thank you, Tanya. It's wild how people often reward themselves with stuff that we know is bad for us. Processed foods, alcohol, etc. I'm just becoming aware of this. Even cannabis can be used wrong. Anything can be used wrong. You can abuse water. You can overdrink water and make yourself sick. Oh, yeah, absolutely. In all ways. I mean, look what we do. Look at our society. We have a birthday for kids. What do? We poison them all with sugar. We give them cake and ice cream and candy and all this stuff. And parents think that's a good thing. There's actually people that are upset that the government's rolling out restrictions for the SNAP program. It's like government food assistance, where they're going to cut out things like cookies and stuff you're going to take treats away from poor kids. No, that's the best favor you can do for them, because it'll help them develop their consciousness. That's really a beautiful thing. That's how I would want it. If my government's going to give me food, I want them to give me the best food, not the worst food. Wiggling earlobes, it certainly assists spirit. Well, keep doing what you're doing. Oh, I will. I love to teach, you know. That's kind of one of my primary nodes here. It's even part of my human design. And I've really enjoyed my time being a teacher for the last 5 years or so. And I'm going to continue that, but it's just kind of different now. Um, but I enjoy it. I spent today at the Botanical Garden for Arbor Day. It was magical. Oh, yeah, that sounds nice. I love the word weird. It's a positive word for me. I'm a proud weirdo. I kind of define it as a different from the norm. Well, yeah, that's important because, again, it goes into definitions. What I'm going into is what I understand most people. I don't see any words as negative, but most people see the word weird as something else. You're weird. You're different, strange, and not good. So, yeah, I'm just going by the standard, not your particular definition, because you're allowed to have any definition you want. I'm going by the standard definition. And in standard definitions, that actually would be like creating a mental block. See you later. Welcome, welcome. Thank you. All right, let's do a little bit of breath. I got to get out of here. I can't believe an hour and 20 minutes has passed already. This has been a wonderful little show, and we've covered so much ground. I love to come in and channel wisdom and information for everybody. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of breath and movement. And this is a nice way for you to connect to your aura. Okay, so if you want to work on connecting to your personal energy field, it's simple as this. You bring your hands together in prayer position, and I bring them and I line them up in front of my heart. I often start a lot of spiritual practice this way. Maybe I'll just do it quick, but the idea is what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my heart, the energy of my heart, the electromagnetic field of my heart, and I'm going to use my mind's eye, my disciplined imagination to send the energy of my heart into my hands, and I'm going to take in a deep breath and stretch the energy over my head. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my hands out and just spread the energy out around me, out into my bubble, my auric field. And I come back and I put my hands here. And I may do this a few times. Move out into your bubble. We're going to do this more. Taking energy from your heart, bringing it overhead. 2 more, just like this. And 1 more. Really stretch that bubble out. Now I want you to do is I want you to hold up your hands. And you can start closer to your body. And I want you just to relax and slowly push your hands out. Notice if you feel like a field of resistance. Like, do you feel something like your bubble? Your energetic field actually has an energetic membrane. It's like the skin of your bubble. And if you pay lots of attention, come back close again and slowly move out. It's different for everybody how far out the bubble. Mine's about here. Mine's probably 2 feet off my body, and I can feel the skin of my bubble. And just sit there and use your mind's eye and disciplined imagination and imagine that you're touching the skin of your bubble. And it's as if it's so. You can feel it. And then what I want you to do is close your eyes. And what you're going to do is you're just going to kind of move your hands around your bubble. You're just going to feel the entirety of your bubble. And feel, do you notice any holes or cracks or lumps or anything? And if you notice anything, you're just going to take your hand. Say there's a hole. You're going to bring the hole together with your hands. Seal it together. If there's a rough spot, you're going to stretch it out, move it out. If there's an imperfection, you're going to perfect it. And you're just taking some time to play in your bubble. Play, reach around, feel behind you. And anything that feels like it needs love or attention, go ahead and give some attention to it. Good. And now your bubble is complete and whole. Now you're going to hold your hands open. You can either hold them up like I'm holding or put your hands in your lap. And now that the bubble's open, this creates a container in which for spirit to do the work with us. So from here, what you can do is you can call to you or invite to you your highest spirits, okay? Or your highest energy or God or angels or whatever you perceive as holy, divine, or sacred, you call that in. We call that in. And I call in all beings of light and energies and frequencies of the cosmos that have divine wisdom to share and healing to share. We are open and ready to receive. And it's important that you say that. You want to say that out loud. You want to state that I am open and ready to receive. You're telling your body, you're telling your mind, you're telling your heart, I am open and ready to receive. And repeat it one more time. I'm open and ready to receive. And what this is essentially is now you're in a passive form of prayer. You're leaving yourself open for your highest energy to talk to you. You're safe because you're within your bubble. You don't have to worry about anything. Everything's good and happy in here. And you're just calling to you. And say you're having a hard time, maybe like my friend Tanya. She has some things that she needs to work out in her field. Or Angela, I got things I'd like to work out in my field. You don't have to be super, precise with what you're saying. It's more about your feeling. I'm calling to me my deepest intelligence. I'm asking God to awaken within me my divine intelligence that lives within the beautiful cells of my body, this array of billions of little things that work together in the form of a universe that creates the universe that is me. And I call here love, and I call here joy, and I call here ease. And I ask that all problems be taken with strength. I'm never going to ask for it to be easy. I'm going to ask for the strength to handle anything. I'm also going to ask for my friends and my family and my spirit family and everyone around the world that we can all together bring blessings into this world and bring blessings to each other. And I ask that blessings be brought directly to you, and life and love and joy and ease be brought directly to you. And let us share that with each other. Let's bring that energy in and send it out. There's nothing you really have to do. And then we can breathe. It's kind of like a jellyfish swimming. You're breathing in, taking in all of the most beautiful energy. And then you're going to send it out from you. Golden, misty light moves out into your bubble, and your bubble vibrates and is sending out frequency and vibration into the space around you, into everything and everywhere. And I breathe in and I fill up. Golden, misty, foggy light, and I send that beautiful light out into my bubble and out into the field. And once more, big strong breath, and send it out. Good. And what you could do here is, if you're in your own practice, you would just spend some time being still, right? You're not trying to control your thoughts, just your attention. And you can breathe really slow. Give all of your attention to your hands. Can you feel your vibrating hands? It's as if your hands are floating in space. Feel them. Feel your eyebrows and your brow ridge and your forehead. Is it vibrating? Can you feel the top of your head and your scalp? Can you allow it to float as if it can float off your head? Can you feel your body, the resonance of your entire body as one living unit? Beautiful. And we're going to make this a short little practice, and what we're going to do is we're going to thank the spirits. I thank all spirits and beings of light and energies and forms of consciousness, cosmic, seen and unseen, for being here and helping guide us on our journey, and always being here when we ask and being so forthcoming with your help. We love you so much, and we're so grateful. And we promise to keep open hearts and minds and souls and allow us to commune and work together. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to gather up all that energy, all that golden light in my bubble, and I'm going to bring it overhead. And I'm going to take in a deep breath and condense it. And as I exhale, I'm going to run it down my column, through me and out my tailbone. Woo! I'm buzzing with golden light. It feels so good. And now what we're going to do is we're going to finish up with a little bit of pranayama type yoga, where we're going to breathe in and out through nostrils. So what you want to do is I'm going to take my left nostril, I'm going to open up my cheek a little, and I'm going to close it, and I'm going to breathe in and out through this nostril. And then we're going to switch. Plug this nostril, open up the cheek here. And now both nostrils. Three more. Two more. Last one. Hold this one. Hold your breath. And release. Feel. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. The energy is so palpable, so strong and beautiful. Just finishing up one more little piece of gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to my body. Thank you to the spirit of the breath. Thank you to all who are here and have joined in this or watching now live and will watch later. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope that that was as beautiful for you as it was for me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to wish everyone a happy Friday, and if you didn't get to catch the whole thing, hopefully you'll watch the replay. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications, and don't be afraid to share this information everywhere. I love you all so much. I'm the Air Wizard, Don Antonio Corianti, your favorite neighborhood shaman. And I want you to know I'm always here and I'm always on your team. If you need to ask questions or you need help, don't be afraid to reach out to me. Also, if you can make a donation to help the cause, that would be great. Reach out if you need donation links or if you'd like an address, you want to send something, that would be great. I do need your help, and I appreciate you all so much, and I love you all so much. God bless you all, and have a beautiful Friday. See you later. Here it is. See you later.